The massive ship appeared without warning, materializing above New York City in a shimmer of impossibly dark energy. Traffic stopped. Phones raised to capture the moment humanity's universe forever changed. The vessel stretched nearly 2 miles long, its surface a shifting pattern of deep purple and midnight black that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. Admiral James Cooper stood in the UN Security Council chamber, his weathered face illuminated by the emergency lighting. Ladies and gentlemen, every military installation worldwide reports the same thing. Our weapons can't even lock onto their ship. It's as if it exists in a different phase of reality. The ship had arrived 12 hours ago. Since then, 17 similar vessels had appeared over major cities across the globe. No communications, no demands, just their overwhelming presence casting shadows over humanity's greatest metropolitan centers. "They're scanning us," announced Dr. Rita Santos, head of the Global Physics Initiative. Her dark eyes were fixed on streams of data flowing across her holographic display. The energy signatures, they're mapping everything. Every computer system, every power grid, every piece of technology we possess. A sound like crystal bells ringing underwater filled the chamber. The holograms flickered, died, then reactivated, showing a single figure. The being stood nearly 8 feet tall, its form seemingly composed of living darkness between plates of luminescent armor. 6 eyes, arranged in a symmetrical pattern, studied the assembled human leaders. "We are the Eternals," it spoke, its voice resonating at frequencies that made the humans' bones vibrate. "We have guided the evolution of this galaxy for 1 million of your years. All spacefaring civilizations answer to us. All technological advancement occurs under our supervision. This is the way of things." Cooper's hand instinctively moved to his sidearm, though he knew it would be useless. Dr. Santos continued recording data, her fingers dancing across her interface. The beam's energy signature was unlike anything in theoretical physics. "Your species has advanced more rapidly than any we have encountered in 50,000 years," the Eternal continued. "Your technological progression follows an exponential curve that our models cannot predict. This makes you dangerous, uncontrollable, a threat to galactic stability." The UN Secretary-General stepped forward, her voice steady despite the situation. "We wish only to peacefully join the galactic community, to learn, to grow, to contribute." The Eternal's upper eyes narrowed. "Pretty words. We have heard them before. But your species' actions speak louder. In mere centuries, you've progressed from primitive combustion engines to quantum field manipulation. Your weapons technology advances alongside your peaceful discoveries at an alarming rate. You are chaos in a system we have kept orderly for eons." "So what now?" Cooper demanded. "Extinction." "No." The Eternal's armor shifted, patterns of light flowing like liquid metal. "You will be tested. 3 trials to prove humanity can control its aggressive impulses and conform to galactic standards. Success means acceptance into our hierarchy, under proper supervision. Failure means quarantine. Your species will be confined to this solar system by barriers you cannot comprehend." Dr. Santos spoke up, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. "Your energy signature. You're manipulating space-time at the quantum level. But there's a pattern to it, like a language written in physics itself." For the first time, the Eternal showed something like surprise. Its 6 eyes focused on Santos, studying her with newfound intensity. "Interesting. You can perceive this. Perhaps your species is even more dangerous than we suspected." "What are these trials?" the Secretary-General asked, drawing the being's attention back to the matter at hand. 3 tasks that every spacefaring race must complete to prove their worth. First, demonstrate control over stellar engineering. Second, showcase your ability to solve quantum-level puzzles. Third, prove your species can act with unity rather than chaos. The Eternal's voice carried a note of what might have been amusement. "No civilization has passed all 3 trials in the last 10,000 years." Dr. Santos was still recording data, her mind racing with possibilities. The Eternals technology operated on principles she'd only theorized about in her most recent research. Principles that suggested their seemingly godlike powers had very real, very exploitable limitations. "You have 30 of your days to prepare," the Eternal announced. "Choose your champions wisely. They will determine the fate of your species." The figure disappeared, leaving behind a lingering resonance that set teeth on edge. Admiral Cooper turned to Dr. Santos. "You saw something in their technology. Something they didn't expect you to see." Santos nodded slowly, her eyes still fixed on the data streams. "Their mastery over spacetime isn't absolute. There are patterns, rhythms, like music written in quantum mechanics, and where there's pattern, there's predictability. Where there's predictability, there's vulnerability," Cooper finished. The Secretary General joined them, her expression grave. "Can we beat their trials?" Santos looked up from her data, a slight smile playing at her lips. "Better than that. I think we can beat them at their own game. They call themselves Eternals, but their technology has limits. They're not gods. They're just bullies who've been unopposed for too long." Cooper studied the physicist carefully. "You want to take them on? Risk everything on the chance we can outsmart beings who've dominated the galaxy for 1,000,000 years." "They fear us," Santos replied. "Why else issue an ultimatum? Why not simply destroy or imprison us? They see humanity's potential, and it terrifies them. These trials aren't about proving our worth. They're about forcing us to submit to their control before we become too powerful to contain." The Secretary General's expression hardened with resolve. "Then we don't just pass their trials. We show them humanity won't be controlled. Dr. Santos, you'll head up our response team. Admiral Cooper, coordinate with global military forces. We have 30 days to prepare humanity's answer to these so-called Eternals." As the leaders dispersed to begin preparations, Dr. Santos returned to her data analysis. The quantum patterns in the Eternals technology were complex but not random. They played by rules, even if they were rules humanity hadn't yet fully grasped. And if there were rules, they could be broken. The Eternals thought they were testing humanity. They didn't realize humanity was about to test them right back. 23 days after the Eternals' ultimatum, Dr. Rita Santos stared at the holographic equations floating in her underground laboratory beneath the Atacama Desert. Numbers and quantum formulas danced in the air, each one a piece of the puzzle she was desperately trying to solve. "Run it again," she commanded the AI system. "Focus on the resonance patterns during their ship's phase shift." The simulation played out, a perfect recreation of the moment the Eternals' vessel had shifted between dimensional states. Santos had spent 3 weeks analyzing every microsecond of that transition. Something about it nagged at her scientific intuition, a flaw in what should have been perfect. "Dr. Santos," Admiral Cooper's voice came through the intercom. "The Chinese just reported another Eternal ship entering orbit. That makes 23 of them now." Santos barely looked up from her work. "They're gathering to watch the show, James. Coming to see humanity submit or fail spectacularly." She manipulated the hologram, expanding a particular sequence. "But they've made a crucial mistake." "Which is?" "They're too perfect." Santos smiled as pieces clicked into place in her mind. "Their technology, their methods, everything operates on absolute mathematical precision. No variation, no adaptation. They've been the undisputed masters of the galaxy for so long, they've stopped innovating." The laboratory door slid open as Cooper entered, his uniform immaculate, despite the late hour. "And that helps us how?" Santos gestured at her equations. "Their quantum phase technology requires exact calculations to work. It's like a lock with 1,000,000 tumblers. Get one calculation wrong by even a fraction, and the whole system fails. They've mastered the lock, but they never considered someone might break it entirely." "You're talking about sabotage." "I'm talking about chaos theory." Santos brought up new simulations. Human mathematics embraces uncertainty. Quantum mechanics, at its core, is about probability rather than absolutes. The Eternals ignore this. Their technology demands perfect order, perfect predictability. Cooper watched the simulations with growing understanding. And if we introduce uncertainty into their systems, their technology doesn't just fail, it backfires. Santos pulled up another display showing the results of her latest experiments. I've been working with a team of quantum physicists worldwide. We've developed a way to generate controlled quantum fluctuations that could disrupt their phase shift technology, turn their greatest strength into a weakness. That's why they fear us, Cooper realized. Human physics embraces chaos. We build flexibility into our systems because we expect things to go wrong. They build perfection because they can't imagine any other way. Santos nodded. Exactly. But there's more. She brought up readings from the Eternals' initial arrival. Their quantum signatures aren't unique. I've detected similar patterns in deep space, coming from regions they claim are uninhabited. I think there are other civilizations out there, hidden from the Eternals' control. Other allies. Other victims, Santos corrected. Species who fail their trials or refuse to submit. The Eternals don't destroy them. They imprison them, contain them. But imprisonment means barriers, and barriers can be broken. Cooper's expression darkened. How many? Based on the quantum echoes, dozens, maybe hundreds of civilizations, all trapped behind quantum barriers, all potentially waiting for a chance to break free. Santos turned to face the Admiral fully. We're not just fighting for humanity's freedom. We could liberate an entire galaxy. The trials begin in 7 days, Cooper reminded her. Even if your theory is correct, how do we prove it? How do we fight back against beings who've dominated space for 1,000,000 years? Santos's eyes gleamed with determination. By turning their own trials against them, they want us to demonstrate stellar engineering. Fine, but we'll do it our way, with controlled chaos and human ingenuity. They want us to solve quantum puzzles. We'll solve them by breaking their rules entirely. And the unity test. That's the beautiful part. Santos brought up a global communications display. Every major physics lab on Earth is already working together, sharing data, building on each other's discoveries. Humanity united not through submission to authority, but through shared determination to remain free. Cooper studied the data streams, watching as scientists worldwide collaborated in real time. They expect us to fail, to prove we're too chaotic, too unpredictable to join their perfect order. Instead, we'll prove that chaos and order aren't opposites, they're complementary forces. Human mathematics understands this. Human engineering embraces it. Santos gestured at her equations. The Eternals call themselves masters of spacetime, but they're really just masters of stagnation. They'd forgotten how to adapt, how to evolve. And that's their weakness. That's their doom. Santos began configuring her systems for another test. We have 7 days to perfect our disruption technique. 7 days to contact potential allies among the hidden civilizations. 7 days to prove that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our unity. It's our ability to embrace uncertainty and turn it to our advantage. Cooper watched as new simulations began running, showing ways to introduce controlled chaos into perfectly ordered systems. The results were spectacular. Quantum cascades that could shatter barriers, disable ships, and rewrite the rules of space-time itself. The Eternals thought they were testing us, Santos said softly. They didn't realize they were really testing themselves. And after 1,000,000 years of perfect order, they're about to learn what happens when you try to contain chaos itself. The first trial would begin in 7 days. Humanity would face challenges designed to prove their worth to the masters of the galaxy. But thanks to Santos' discoveries, they would do more than just prove their worth. They would prove that the age of the Eternals was over, and the age of humanity was about to begin. The star Proxima Centauri blazed ahead, its angry red light filling the view screen of humanity's most advanced starship, the HSS Defiance. Dr. Rita Santos stood at the main console, surrounded by holographic displays showing quantum readings that would have been impossible to measure just a month ago. The Eternals have arrived. Admiral Cooper announced from his command chair. Above Proxima Centauri, 5 massive eternal vessels shimmered into existence, their dark hulls absorbing starlight like quantum singularities. "Let them watch," Santos replied, her fingers dancing across the controls. "Everything is prepared." The first trial had been announced with typical eternal precision. Demonstrate mastery over stellar forces by stabilizing Proxima Centauri's increasingly erratic fusion reactions. The star had entered an unexpected period of instability, threatening 3 newly established human colonies in nearby systems. "Your technology is primitive by our standards." The lead Eternal's voice resonated through the ship's communications. "You cannot hope to influence stellar dynamics with such limited tools." Santos smiled. "We don't intend to control the star," she responded. "We intend to work with it." The Defiance's quantum sensors, enhanced by Santos's breakthroughs, revealed what the Eternals couldn't see: patterns within the star's chaos, rhythms in its quantum fluctuations. While the Eternals saw only disorder to be controlled, humanity had learned to see the underlying harmony. "Begin the sequence," Santos ordered. The Defiance deployed a network of quantum resonators, devices that looked deceptively simple but contained humanity's most advanced understanding of space-time manipulation. Instead of trying to force the star's fusion reactions into perfect order, they began to synchronize with the star's natural rhythms. "What are you doing?" The Eternal's voice carried an unfamiliar note: uncertainty. "Your approach defies all established protocols." "That's rather the point," Cooper replied. Santos watched her readings carefully. The resonators were working, creating a quantum feedback loop that didn't suppress the star's chaos but channeled it. Proxima Centauri's fluctuations began to stabilize, not through force but through harmony. "Impossible," the Eternal declared. "Your methods violate the fundamental principles of stellar engineering." "No," Santos corrected, "they'd violate your principles. Human science doesn't seek to impose perfect order. We understand that complexity and chaos are essential parts of natural systems." The star's output steadied, its erratic behavior smoothing into a new pattern, not the rigid stability the Eternals would have demanded, but a dynamic equilibrium that worked with the star's nature rather than against it. "Second phase," Santos commanded. The resonators shifted frequency, and now came the truly revolutionary part. The quantum patterns they generated weren't just stabilizing the star. They were communicating through it. Santos had discovered that stellar plasma could carry quantum signals across vast distances, like a network of cosmic lighthouses. "Admiral," her secondary display lit up with new data. "We're receiving responses." "From where?" Cooper asked, though his slight smile suggested he already knew. "Everywhere." Santos' eyes gleamed as she read the incoming signals. "All those supposedly empty sectors of space, they're responding. The imprisoned civilizations, they can see what we're doing. They understand." Through the view screen, Proxima Centauri pulsed with new energy. Not the chaotic flares of before, but coherent patterns, a quantum symphony conducted through the very fabric of space-time. Humanity wasn't just passing the Eternal's trial. They were broadcasting their defiance across the galaxy. "This test is concluded," the Eternal announced, but there was no mistaking the tension in its harmonic voice. "You have demonstrated adequate control over stellar forces, though your methods are unorthodox." "Oh, we're just getting started," Santos replied. Her displays showed quantum signatures from the Eternal vessels, and now that she knew what to look for, she could see the flaws in their perfection. Their technology wasn't just rigid, it was brittle. "The second trial begins in 3 days," the Eternal stated. "Do not think this small success indicates that we're a threat to your power," Cooper interrupted. "That's exactly what it indicates. You call yourselves Eternals, but eternity doesn't mean stagnation. It means endless change, endless growth. Something you forgot a long time ago." The Eternal ships began to phase shift away, but Santa's enhanced sensors captured every detail of their quantum signature. Each shift, Each manipulation of space-time revealed more about the limitations of their supposedly perfect technology. "They're scared," Santos said quietly once the ships had gone. "Not just of our technology, but of what we represent. Change, adaptation, evolution, and the messages from the other civilizations." Santos brought up the decoded signals. "They're ready, waiting. Some of them have been imprisoned for thousands of years, but they haven't given up. They've been watching, learning, preparing. They just needed someone to show them it was possible to fight back." Cooper studied the star, now pulsing with stable, coherent energy. "We still have 2 more trials." "No," Santos corrected, "the Eternals have 2 more trials. To see if they can adapt to a galaxy that's about to change forever. Somehow. I don't think they'll pass." The Defiance turned away from Proxima Centauri, but the quantum network they'd established remained, carrying messages of hope and rebellion across the galaxy. The first trial was complete, but the real test was just beginning. Not a test of humanity's worth, but a test of the Eternals' right to rule. And out in the darkness between the stars, ancient barriers began to weaken as imprisoned civilizations took humanity's lesson to heart. Perfect order could be broken, but only by those willing to embrace the power of chaos itself. The quantum maze filled the Defiance's view screen like a crystalline nightmare. Each facet reflected distorted versions of reality, parallel possibilities frozen in space-time. This was the Eternal's second trial. Navigate their most complex quantum puzzle, a labyrinth that existed in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. "Their arrogance is almost admirable," Dr. Santos murmured, studying the maze's quantum signature. "They've created something so perfect, so orderly, they can't see its fundamental flaw." Admiral Cooper stood beside her, watching as the maze shifted through impossible geometries. The flaw being, "It's too perfect." Santos brought up her latest analysis. Every quantum state, every possible configuration, follows exact mathematical principles. They're so proud of their precision, they never considered that imperfection might be an advantage. The Eternal vessels hung in space around the maze, their dark hulls reflecting the maze's crystalline light. Their leader's voice resonated through the ship's communications. "Begin your attempt. Know that no species has successfully navigated the quantum maze in 3,000 years." Santos smiled. "That's because they all tried to solve it. We're going to break it." The past 3 days had been busy. While the Eternals thought humanity was preparing for their second trial, Santos and her global team had been decoding the messages from imprisoned civilizations. Each provided another piece of the puzzle, another flaw in the Eternals' perfect order. "Launch the quantum probes," Santos commanded. The Defiance released a swarm of small devices, each one designed according to Santos' new theories. Instead of trying to map the maze's perfect patterns, they introduced controlled uncertainty, quantum fluctuations that rippled through the maze's structure. "What are you doing?" The Eternal's voice carried clear alarm. "Your devices are contaminating the quantum field." "No," Santos corrected. "We're introducing humanity to it. Chaos isn't contamination. It's the most fundamental force in the universe." The probe's effect spread through the maze like cracks in glass. But instead of destroying it, they revealed something hidden beneath the perfect surface. Quantum signatures that didn't match Eternal technology. "Admiral," Santos' voice was tight with excitement, "I'm detecting responses from inside the maze. It's not just a puzzle, it's a prison." Cooper leaned forward. "Explain." "The maze doesn't just exist in multiple dimensional states. It contains them. The Eternals have been using it to trap beings who exist across quantum realities, beings who could challenge their power." Through the view screen, the maze's perfect geometry began to shift. As humanity's controlled chaos spread through its structure, new patterns emerged, patterns that pulsed with life and intelligence. "We see you, children of Earth." The voice that echoed through the ship's systems wasn't the harsh resonance of an Eternal. It was a chorus of harmonies, each one representing a different quantum state of existence. "You have done what we hoped. introduced uncertainty into their perfect prison. Stop this immediately. The Eternal Commander's demand carried an edge of panic. You have no idea what you are releasing. But Santos understood exactly what they were releasing. Her sensors showed the truth. The maze contained beings who had evolved beyond single quantum states, civilizations that could exist in multiple realities simultaneously. The Eternals hadn't imprisoned them because they were dangerous. They'd imprisoned them because they represented a level of evolution beyond the Eternals' control. The maze isn't a test, Santos announced, letting her words broadcast across all quantum frequencies. It's a containment system for beings who embraced chaos as a path to enlightenment. The Eternals don't fear our technology. They fear we might follow the same path. The quantum beings' voices merged into one. For millennia, we have waited for a species brave enough to break the perfect patterns. Humanity does not fear chaos. Humanity understands that true growth requires both order and disorder in balance. The maze's structure was transforming. As humanity's probes continued to introduce uncertainty, the quantum prison began to dissolve, not with violence or destruction, but with a graceful shift into new forms of existence. You don't understand what you're doing. The Eternal's voice was desperate now. Without our control, the galaxy will fall into chaos. No, Cooper replied calmly, it will evolve. Something you forgot how to do a long time ago. The quantum beings emerged from their prison like a cascade of possibilities, each one existing across multiple states of reality. Their presence filled space with patterns more complex and beautiful than anything the Eternal's perfect order could create. The third trial is canceled, the Eternal Commander declared. Your species has proven itself too dangerous too dangerous to control, Santos interrupted. There's a difference. We've proven exactly what you feared, that humanity will never submit to your perfect, sterile order. The quantum being's message spread across the galaxy, carried by the network humanity had created through the stars. The age of rigid perfection is ending. The age of evolution begins. The eternal ships began to retreat, their perfect formations breaking down in the face of possibilities they couldn't compute. But Santos barely noticed them. Her attention was fixed on the readings from across the galaxy. Quantum signatures showing ancient barriers falling as imprisoned civilizations embraced humanity's gift of chaos. The third trial was supposed to test our unity, Cooper mused. I'd say uniting half the galaxy in rebellion counts. Santos nodded, watching as the quantum beings danced through dimensions. The Eternals never understood. True unity doesn't come from enforced order. It comes from embracing diversity, complexity, and change. The revolution had begun, not with weapons or violence, but with humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy, the courage to break perfect patterns and release the creative power of chaos itself. The eternal homeworld hung in space like a perfect sphere of crystalline darkness, its surface unmarred by the chaos of natural evolution. The combined fleet of humanity and liberated civilizations surrounded it, not in the precise formations the Eternals favored, but in flowing, adaptive patterns that mimicked the quantum dance of the universe itself. They've sealed themselves behind quantum barriers, Dr. Santos reported from the Defiance's enhanced sensors, multiple layers of space-time distortion. They think they can wait us out. Admiral Cooper studied the tactical display, where ships of 100 different species moved in harmony. Some were physical vessels like the human fleet. Others were quantum constructs left by the beings freed from the maze. Still others were living clouds of probability, civilizations that had evolved far beyond physical form. They don't understand, do they? Cooper mused. Even now, they think this is about control. It was never about control. The quantum chorus of the freed maze-dwellers resonated through the ship's systems. It is about growth, about the right of all beings to choose their own path of evolution. The past week had seen the galaxy transform. As the quantum network humanity had established spread from star to star, ancient barriers had fallen. Imprisoned civilizations had risen up, each one adding their unique perspectives and technologies to the revolution. The Eternals' perfect order was crumbling in the face of infinite diversity. They're preparing their defense systems, Santos announced. Quantum weapons designed to enforce absolute order on spacetime itself. She smiled. They're still trying to solve chaos with perfect mathematics. Then let's show them a new equation. Cooper opened a channel to the combined fleet. All ships, initiate Operation Uncertainty. The attack began not with weapons, but with waves of controlled quantum fluctuation. Every ship, every being, every consciousness in the combined fleet added their own variation to the pattern. Not trying to destroy the Eternals' barriers, but transforming them through the power of accumulated possibility. You cannot comprehend what you are destroying. The Eternal Leader's voice boomed across all frequencies. We have maintained order for 1,000,000 years. Without us, evolution will run wild. That's rather the point, Santos replied, her fingers dancing across quantum controls that interfaced with technologies barely imagined a month ago. Evolution isn't meant to be controlled. It's meant to be embraced. The eternal defenses began to shift, trying to adapt to the chaos being introduced into their perfect systems. But adaptation required creativity, required accepting uncertainty, everything they had spent 1,000,000 years trying to eliminate from the galaxy. Their barriers are failing, Santos reported. Not breaking, transforming. The quantum fluctuations are showing them possibilities they've never considered. Through the view screen, the crystalline surface of the eternal homeworld began to change. Perfect patterns fractured, not into destruction but into new forms of order. Order that embraced rather than rejected chaos. The combined fleet's quantum signal was reaching them, showing them a universe far richer than their rigid perfection had allowed. We are the Eternals. Their leader's voice came again, but now it carried something new, uncertainty. We do not know how to exist in chaos. Then let us teach you, the quantum chorus replied. As humanity taught us, there is a balance between order and chaos, between perfection and possibility. Finding that balance is the true test of any civilization. The barriers around the eternal homeworld dissolved completely, not in surrender but in transformation. Their ships began to pulse with new patterns, their perfect symmetry giving way to flowing, organic forms. They're evolving, Santos whispered, watching her quantum readings. 1,000,000 years of stagnation. And finally, they're changing. The revolution ended not with victory or defeat, but with transformation. The Eternal's power hadn't been broken. It had been reformed, changed from rigid control into something new, something that could grow. What now? Cooper asked, watching as the combined fleet began to disperse, each species departing to forge their own path of evolution. Now, Santos smiled, studying the quantum network that connected the galaxy's civilizations in harmony rather than hierarchy. Now we do what humanity does best. We explore, we learn, we grow, and we help others do the same. The quantum chorus added, You have given the galaxy a gift greater than freedom. You have given it the courage to embrace uncertainty, to see chaos not as an enemy to be controlled, but as a force that drives all life toward greater complexity. The defiance turned away from the transformed eternal homeworld, but the quantum network humanity had helped create remained, carrying messages of discovery and possibility between civilizations that had forgotten how to dream. The Eternals thought they were the masters of spacetime, Santos said, watching new quantum patterns dance across her displays. But they forgot the most fundamental law of the universe. Nothing truly eternal can remain unchanged. As the ship prepared to return to Earth, Cooper studied the galaxy map, now alive with the quantum signatures of civilizations growing, changing, evolving in ways the Eternals never imagined possible. They wanted to test humanity's worth, he mused. Instead, we taught them the worth of chaos itself. In the space between stars, the quantum network pulsed with new possibilities. The age of enforced order was over. The age of infinite potential had begun. And humanity, the species that had dared to break perfect patterns, would help guide the galaxy not toward eternal stagnation, but toward eternal growth. The revolution of the stars was complete. But the true revolution, the endless dance of order and chaos, of certainty and possibility, was just beginning.